So Teddy here, along with many right-wingers, are in hot water over the fact that they don't want a black woman on the Supreme Court. So they must be racists and they must be misogynists. A double whammy. A double whammy. The 1-2 punch. Who could have thought this? So the question is, are they really racist or is there something else? Well, let's ask ourselves the following question. If Joe Biden would nominate the Virginia lieutenant governor on the Supreme Court, do you think Ted Cruz would complain? Do you guys know who is the lieutenant governor of Virginia? Well, you should, because it's historical. History was in the making. She is the first black woman to become the lieutenant governor in Virginia. Not only that, she's also an immigrant. Look how many boxes she is checking. So why didn't we hear about... Oh, I see. She fought in the Marines. And she's a right-winger. So my question is, do you think that if Joe Biden would have nominated her on the Supreme Court, do you think the right-wingers would be upset? Why not? They're sexists, right? They're misogynists, allegedly. They're racists, allegedly. Why would they want a black woman? Why wouldn't they be upset? But we know the answer. They wouldn't be upset if that's the case, because this has nothing to do with skin color and race. It's all about politics. I mean, it always was about politics. Now, you can be upset on principle, on the idea that you're saying, oh yes, I'm going to put a person based on its identity in a position. Because it raises so many questions. Like, first of all, being against that isn't being racist. Like, being against racial discrimination isn't being racist. Like, you're already discriminating against Asian women. Like, you're telling me that if an Asian woman comes with a higher qualification than other black women, you're not even going to consider her for the role? What about a Latinx? A Latinx man, if he comes up and he is the most qualified person to be on the Supreme Court, are you going to reject because he doesn't have the good pedigree? He doesn't have the correct heritage? And this is coming from Joe Biden, who was not very favorable when the last black man managed to ascend to the Supreme Court. I don't know how many of you remember history, but you can look up about it. You can Google it, and you can see how Joe Biden treated the last black man who managed to become a judge on the Supreme Court. It's not like all of a sudden Joe had a change of heart. Let's be honest. No, it's identity politics, and you can see at Kamala Harris, which is also, according to Joe, promoted because of her heritage. Like, even before choosing and nominating her, he was, he wants a black woman as a vice president. And you get Kamala Harris. Is she a good pick? Did he pick her? I mean, is the question, did he pick her because of her qualifications, or did he pick her because he restricted his choice of candidates from the get-go? Is that a legitimate question, or is it racist to ask? But yeah, so this is something that politicians have been doing for a while. I think it's the left has done it the first. The communists did it with the working class. So they would have some very unpopular reforms and some very unpopular legislation that people complained. And communists said, no, we're doing it for the working class. And if you complain, you're against the working class. That's how it works. Like, imagine the following. Imagine that you don't like the fact that people are talking against you on the internet and they're criticizing your policies, and you're losing the next elections, you're losing in the polls simply because people talk openly on the internet. So if you're a politician, what do you do about it? Well, I'll tell you what you do about it. You claim that you support women, and you're going to use your activists and your influencers to push private companies to start having terms of service, to start having censorship within their own companies, in order to ban people who make rape jokes. Because according to you, rape jokes normalize rape. So you normalize censorship by doing this. You start making censorship as the norm so that people can accept more censorship in the future. And if anyone complains, you're like, oh, the only reason you're complaining is because you're a sexist. The only reason you're complaining is because you're a misogynist. It's not that you care about free speech. It's not that you care about free expression. No. You're only complaining because you're a sexist. And you're not attacking me, you're attacking women. That's how the game is played. And the next elections, you can even ask a woman from your party to step forward. And anyone that criticizes her is criticizing her because she's a sexist. Isn't that very useful? Isn't that a very interesting game? All of a sudden, you can deflect all manner of criticism. You're not being held accountable. You can push things that people don't want to be pushed because they're going to be afraid of being called a sexist. Kind of like when Obama was president. If you didn't like him, it was because you're a racist. If you didn't like Obamacare, it was because you're a racist. Then Hillary Clinton comes up. All of a sudden, it's about sexism. I mean, at this point, I think Americans are a little bit tired of the game. I know even other Romanians, they're looking at America bewildered. And it's like, why are they so obsessed with skin color? Like, why can they not stop talking about race? It's because it's powerful. It helps people be in power. And if you look at the people in power, they're not black. I mean, Joe Biden is white. But he does claim to represent black people. So it's what the Democrats do. I mean, overwhelmingly, the Democrats are white. Right? It's so blatantly obvious. But as long as, I guess, the grift keeps working, it's effective. I mean, look, it got Teddy into trouble. Look at his facial expression of concern. He's concerned. I mean, of course he's concerned. The media is now attacking him, right? He said something bewildering. It's like, maybe you should consider all the candidates and pick the best one rather than... And if that candidate happens to be a black woman, of course. Of course. But like, you're not doing that. You're outright saying. You're outright coming up and you're limiting and you're like, no. Only these candidates are acceptable. If you did that for a job interview, it would be illegal, wouldn't it? Like, if I were to say I'm only going to hire black women, like that would be against the law. It would be discrimination. Because, again, you're discriminating against the Latinx, the Italians. I actually saw Italians being written in a paper the other day. So, yeah. But what can you do? If you call it out, it's because you're a racist. All right. Whatever. Now, personally, if I was an American, I wouldn't even get too riled up about it. I mean, obviously, they're going to pick an activist judge. No one does that. I mean, a couple of years ago, if you suggested that the judges on the Supreme Court of the United States have political leanings, that would be a conspiracy theory because a judge needs to be impartial. Theoretically, yes. In reality, no. I mean, now even the left admits that the judges are nominated based on their political leanings. So, who is this new judge replacing? Well, she's going to be replacing a liberal judge. So you're not changing the conformation of the Supreme Court, which is probably why right-wingers don't even care that much about this, to be honest. But it's interesting to highlight the viewpoint, right? The racism of the Democrats. And the reason you highlight it isn't because you're showing them to be hypocritical. Because a lot of people think it's like pointing out hypocrisy will get them to stop. No, you point out hypocrisy to outrage your own base, right? So that when the elections are coming, people are outraged and they're more willing to provide you support. That's why you're pointing out hypocrisy. You're not pointing out hypocrisy to get the Democrats to stop. Like, stop them from what? Winning? You're not going to do that, obviously. But you might get people upset. You might get, the Latinx lady upset. It's like, okay, so why isn't he considering Latinx women for the role of the Supreme Court? That's an outrage. Going to punish him at the election polls. That's why you do it. That's why you point out the hypocrisy. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.